So thanks for coming back to my little video series of programming the Pi in Python. Now I'm making a little mini game. Here's the game where we left off. It's some balls that move around the screen that are blue, and if the bat's in the right place, the ball will pop off the bat and continue like it did there. So I'm going to modify this game now to make it more of a bubble pop game. So I'm going to make it a little bit more like Space Invaders really, but using the same modified code, which of course is the original demo code from Pimoroni. So first of all, here's the game as I left off, this game that's running now at the moment. Here it is on the screen. I'm going to first of all do a save as on this so that I can save it as a oops, not yet, stop, oops, not open. I want to, so file, save as, and I'm going to call this game Bubble Pop, which I've already got there, which I'm going to replace. All right, so I've already got it there because previously I lost the footage, so I'm starting to record this again. So first of all, what I'm going to do is reduce the number of balls that we use. I'll set it to 1 at the moment, and I want to not use blue balls because this is Space Invader-esque. I'm going to make them green. So I'm still going to use balls as an object, but let's make them green. So red, green, blue. I want them slightly random as well, so I'm copying that random code. And this is the lowest value. The lowest value, I want it to be, say, 75. And the highest value, 155. So hopefully, if I now run this, it should give me a single ball. There you go, which is that slimy green. Let's try again. That's a duller green. Try again. And again. That's a bright green. So that's doing that fine. Now just to make it a bit easier, I think I want to move the baton to the bottom of the screen as well. So let's go to the bat, and I draw the bat. It was a rectangle, wasn't it? I draw the bat here. So if I want that to go to the bottom of the screen, this is still going to be pretty much the same, but where I draw it has got to be the width of the screen. So obviously this screen is the wrong proportions, but the width command. So I've got that already, width. And actually, because I don't want, if I draw it at the full width of the screen, the rectangle will go off the edge of the screen. So I want to just draw it past the edge of the width of the rectangle. So the width of the rectangle is 10. So let's take 10 off the width of the screen. Let's see whether that moves it to the bottom. It does. All right, now does that mess up left and right? No, it doesn't. So still stops there, still stops there. Okay. And you know, for this, for reasons which may become evident later, I'm just going to alter the width so that it's at 20. So the bat is slightly smaller. Not going to be bat anymore. It's going to be, I don't know, the thing that the missiles come out of. Let's try that. Just check that still works. All right. Okay, so a little bit smaller, and that's fine. Okay, so I can just leave that running. So what's to do next? So the next thing I want to do is to create a missile class. So I had my bat class there. So let's, for the moment, just copy that. And I'm going to create a new class, and I'm going to call it missile. Missile, I'm going to have an X location and a Y location, and so let's just copy that to set X and Y. But I'm also going to have a Boolean, so self active, and I'm going to say that is false. When the missile is in play, it will be true, otherwise it's false. All right, so there's my missile class, and of course I need to initialize the missile. So bat equals bat1, and I'm going to do missile. I'm only going to have one missile in this place, but because I've got it as a class, I could possibly have several missiles in play at once, but I'm only going to do one in this demo. So missile equals missile, and let's start the missile at the bottom of the screen. So that's going to be width. The missile, I'll say now, is going to be 20 pixels wide. So let's say width -20 and set it at 0. All right. So that's the beginning place of the missile to start with. So let's just run this to make sure I've not introduced an error. There'll be nothing changed on the screen at the moment. All right, so that's created my missile class. So now I've got to display the missile. So first of all, I've got to trigger the missile. So if we remember, we're using our B button here for reset. So I'm going to use the A button to fire the missile. So to fire the missile, all I've got to do is set that missile to true. So down here somewhere, so I've got if display is pressed button B, then reset at the moment, reset the LED. So before that, let's say if display is pressed display button A, then missile active equals true. Make sure you put the capital T on the true. All right, run that. It shouldn't do anything, but it also shouldn't crash if I press the A, which it doesn't. That fires the missile. However, we need to draw the missile as well. So after the balls, let's put something in to draw the missile. If missile active, I've just done that right at the bottom. Missile active equals true. Yeah, so if missile active is true, then display rectangle. I have to display it with missile X, missile Y, just the same as the ball class, and 20 and 5. All right, so I think that should do it. So what we should see if this runs, okay, it runs without error. We should see when I press the A button, something appears at the bottom of the screen. Oh, at the top of the screen. All right, so it appears there, but that's fine. And the missile is green as well. We don't want the missile to be green, but don't know why the missile is green. I know why the missile is green. Let's move the missile down to underneath where the bat is. So where do I display the bat? Where's the other rectangle? Display rectangle there. So I'm setting the, that's it. So let's just put it there. So if you follow that, I'm setting the pen to greyish for the base, and there I'm going to draw it. So let's just try that again briefly, and I should have a different colour. That's it. So at the top of the screen it's there. Now that top of the screen doesn't seem right. All right, so how am I going to sort that? All right, okay, so I think what I'll do is where I turn the missile active, I need to add some more code, because at the moment that's just doing the default when I'm drawing that missile of X and Y, and at the moment we don't really know what the default of X and Y is. It's back here, so it's the width -20 and 0. It doesn't really matter this first missile I draw where it is, so I don't need to worry about the missile -20 there really, because I'm going to reset it when I first start it. So here's my missile code, and I'm going to say, so first of all, actually I think I need to, if display is pressed button A, first of all I've got to say if the missile isn't currently active, because I don't want this to reset where the missile is. So it's going to be something like if the button is pressed, if not missile active, or I could do, oh, if missile active equals false maybe, then make it true. So it only makes it true if it's not already true. But also here's where I need to set the X and Y position. So I'm going to go missile X equals, and the bottom of the screen, which we worked out was width -20. I think missile X equals width -20. Okay, and I've got to also set the missile Y. So missile Y, and I'm going to set this to approximately the position of the bat, because that's where I want the missile to come out of. So otherwise moving the bat won't alter where the missile is. So I'm going to go bat Y and try and get it in the middle of the bat, which is going to be +10, which is why I set the bat to a width of 20 earlier, because it's nice and divisible. So does this work? Compile. So let's move the bat to the middle of the screen and trigger a missile, and approximately that appears in the middle of where that was. Don't know what happens. Okay, nothing else happens because that button has no effect once the missile is already active. All right, so next thing we've got to do is move the missile. So the missile moving, so this is just triggering a new missile. I don't think we need to do anything else with that. That's fine. So where I draw the missile is where I then want to do something. So if missile is active, then I'm going to display it, but I also need to make it move. So it'll just be missile X, missile.x, and I want to take 4 away. If it's on the bottom of the screen, that's the high number, and I want to move it to the top of the screen, which is the low number in this screen orientation. So missile X equals, and it's going to be missile X -4, but let's use the shortcut this time. So minus equals 4, so that will take minus equals, takes whatever the contents is of that already and takes that away from it. Let's try that. This should move the missile and then it might crash. Hey, there you go. And of course it won't fire again. So we have to make sure that when the missile gets to the end of the screen, it sets the missile to false again, and then we'll be able to fire again. So I need to only increment that if it's not at the edge of the screen. So let's go if missile X, and let's say if it's greater than -10, which is within the play field, then increment it. And then here I need to do else, then reset the missile. So make the missile active. So stop it being active. Missile active equals false. So this shouldn't trigger a new, let's run it. It shouldn't trigger a new missile. If we push the button in again, it fires it. But now, there you go. When it gets to the edge of the screen, it allows me to fire again. Let's push it a few times. It will only fire one missile. So it will only, when the missile is active, it will allow it go to the edge of the screen and stop. Excellent. All right, now the difficult bit. The difficult bit is the collision. So I've got to work out how to do the collision with any of the balls. Now the balls have stopped at the moment. I'll tell you what I'm going to do at the moment, because in our old code, once the ball got to the end of the screen, it stopped. So I'm going to get rid of that code first, so the ball is active all the time. So let me work out how to do that again. I think with that I've got to, where's the bit where it, so this is the bit that resets the ball if it gets to the edge. So at the moment I'm just going to comment out this. It's probably an easy way to do this, but hopefully if I run that now, once the ball goes to the edge of the screen, it should just bounce back in again. Yes, all right, excellent. All right, yeah, just checking that's still in focus. Sorry about losing the focus on the last video. All right, so theoretically now I should be able to fire at the ball, but at the balloon to pop it. But of course it doesn't actually have any, it doesn't register when it hits the ball. So what we've got to do is look at the position. When we draw the ball, we've got to look at the position of the missile, if the missile is active, and if it is within the vicinity of the ball, then stop the ball moving. Okay, which is why I want to keep this. So if something, I'm just going to say if something there, all right, so if something's happening, then I go missile equals false. So if we sense a collision, stop the missile. Then I'm going to get rid of the ball. So I'm going to get this bit here, this code here, and this bit, if you remember the ball, it makes the ball, stops the ball moving, puts the ball somewhere else on the screen where it's out of the way. So let's just, whoops. All right, so now if a collision happens, the ball will vanish from the screen. This particular ball will vanish from the screen. It's got to be in this balls thing because there's multiple balls that are in there. If you remember, I said I've got to work out where the missile is and work out where the ball is. And I've also got to take into account the width of the ball, which is fun, which is why I work this out in advance. So if ball X is greater than missile X minus the radius of the ball, which was in R, if you remember, and so that looks at the lower part of it, of the X, and ball X is smaller than missile X plus ball R. All right, so that's to get the X position. So you see ball R is the radius, so you're going to have a central point. If we didn't put this in, if we just said ball X equals missile X, it would be so pixel perfect we'd never ever hit anything. So we have to take in the width of the ball and also to an extent the width of the missile, but that's not as important on this. All right, so that's the X bit. So I'm going to copy that again, and I'm going to copy that again for the Y bit. So it's going to be pretty much the same. Radius is going to be the same. So let's just paste that in again. So it's going to be ball Y is greater than missile Y, and ball minus the radius, and ball Y equals missile Y. All right, so that should give us the checks to see whether the missile is in the vicinity of the ball. So let's run that and see whether I've made any mistakes. Okay, so I need to add one more thing to this though. I need to just make sure that, because this check will slow things down, I only want to do this check if the missile is active. So if missile active, if missile active is true, then if the ball is in the vicinity, and I better just tab those along to make sure that the if statements work correctly. Okay, let's try running that, and it shouldn't crash. It doesn't crash, which is good. Okay, so can I fire now? Yeah, so let's see if I can hit the ball. Oh, there you go. See that? Let's try it again. So if I hit the ball, it should disappear. There you go. Now, that was pretty good. I want it to be slightly more spectacular than that. So I just need to do one more thing. So before I turn the missile off, I want to display something. So I want to set the pen first because I want this to be as bright a white as possible, because it's only going to be on the screen for a couple of seconds, well, milliseconds. So I'm going to go 255, 255, 255. So use 55. So use the brightest white that there is, and I want to, at approximately the same place, I want to grab this code and do that here. So this is going to move the ball to a different part of the screen. So this draw circle down here won't work, but if a collision is detected, I'm going to do this same thing. So display the circle if it's collected at the same X and Y coordinates, but let's make it a little bit bigger. So hopefully you'll work out what this is going to do, but let's run it again. And let's run it. And if I hit the ball, there you go. Did you see that? All right, quite pleased with that. Boom. All right. Now, one more thing. Let's reset the game. So this before, if you remember, we'd set the B button. All it did was turn off the LED, which we were using earlier on, to see whether something had got to the edge of the screen. So we don't want that anymore. But what we want to do is to reset the balls. So we'll get the ball code where we create a new ball. So up here we create this set, and all I'm going to do is copy that, and when I check to see whether we turn the display off when we hit button B, let's get rid of that, turn the LED off, let's get rid of that, and in there let's paste this balls code to create a new set again. So again, work out the tab in. Hopefully this will do, and that should rebuild, if I've got it right, that should rebuild this ball array with a random movement again. So let's run that, if that works. It does. Every time I now hit that, there you go, see the balls change. So we have a reset button. So let's fire, bang, got it. One more thing I've just noticed. Did you see when I fired that, the missile carried on after it hit it? So let's try that again. So, oh no, it didn't. The missile just fired again. So that's fine. So that works. So we are resetting the missile. So let's just make it into a decent game now and up the number of balls. So let's say we'll use 25 balls. And of course I need to set this up. I should use a procedure for creating this, but I'm not doing. So we begin with 25 balls, and if we hit reset, then 25 balls will get regenerated again. So let's play that. And many more balls. Let's fire. Boom, boom. As we fire, little explosions for each one. The explosion is also relevant to the size of the ball it hits. So if it's a very little ball, it's a littler explosion, and a big explosion for another one. Just checking that's still in focus again, and it looks like it. And then hit that and it resets the game. So there you go. There's a bubble pop game akin to Space Invaders. Some questions maybe. If you like this, please thumbs up. Please subscribe if you're not done already. I appreciate all the subscribers that have joined me after these little demos. But how would you have a high score on this, or a score? If you've got an idea how you'd implement scores on this game, maybe have a little score display at the top, please comment. And also maybe how would you go about turning this not a bubble anymore, but turning that into a little Space Invaders sprite or something like that? How do you think you'd go about that? If you've got any ideas, please comment below. I appreciate your comments anyway. And thanks for your time in listening to my waffle.